Antibiotic resistance is all about the persistent survival of bacteria within the human host. In the worst cases, this can lead to septic shock, organ failure, and ultimately death. In the future, it is predicted to kill over 10 million people worldwide, more than those that currently die from cancer. This is greater than the population of London. So, what's the origin of antibiotics? Well, in 1928, Alexander Fleming accidentally discovered antibiotics through the growth of fungus on a bacterial petri dish. What he observed was that the penicillin that had grown caused the bacteria on the dish to die. Therefore, the first antibiotic was born. Penicillin usage skyrocketed in World War II, where it was used almost indiscriminately for infections and wounds. It was very effective and saved countless lives. Antibiotics were then rapidly discovered between the 1940s and 1990s, after which point there's become a discovery void. Now we must remember, antibiotics are only effective against bacteria. They're not effective against viruses, fungi, or anything else. Antibiotics are like missiles targeting enemy soldiers in the form of bacteria. These initial strikes with the missiles cause most of the enemy soldiers to be wiped out. However, the strongest amongst them are able to survive. These stronger soldiers anticipate the missiles coming again, and so build protective mechanisms to prevent them from being killed. If that didn't make sense to you, let me explain the science behind it. The bacteria that survive these antibiotic attacks are the ones that encode antibiotic resistant genes. These bacteria are the ones that are selected for to survive, and so they reproduce and spread to different bacterial colonies those antibiotic resistant genes. In the long run, what this means is our antibiotics are becoming ineffective, and so the bacteria are winning the war in the human body and taking over the host. This is ultimately leading to death.
This is my uncle, who has to take antibiotics for the rest of his life.
What condition do you have that requires you to take antibiotics?
Small intestinal bacterial overgrowth.
Why do you have to take them? Can you explain the condition a bit?
I get bacteria build-up in my intestines, and then basically I have to take antibiotics to, when the build-up gets too much, to reduce it.
What's being done to limit your chance of developing antibiotic resistance?
They prescribe me different antibiotics to take on rotation.
What would that mean for you if the antibiotics aren't working?
The antibiotics won't be as effective in bringing down the bacteria that's in my intestines effectively, so the condition won't go away completely. I may need to have the antibiotics more frequently.
How do you feel like antibiotic resistance is being treated by doctors, the NHS and governing bodies?
I don't think they're putting enough in it because repeatedly my specialist, who's very good, has repeatedly come back to me and said that that she's very limited in what she can prescribe. I actually do already have a limitation in, because I'm allergic to penicillin, which automatically reduces the amount of antibiotics I can have from about 6 down to about 3.
What do you think needs to be done differently to help with that?
Well, presumably the pharmaceuticals need to, or pharmaceutical companies need to sort of look into whether there's alternative ways of managing bacteria and infections and things like that.
3 factors that lead to antibiotic resistance are: 1. Overprescription and not finishing courses of antibiotics. Antibiotics given when not necessary damage the gut microbiome, allowing for opportunistic bacteria to infect. Not finishing a course of antibiotics when appropriately prescribed increases the likelihood of a bacteria surviving and developing resistance. 2. Lack of global consensus on antibiotic usage. The O'Neill report, published in 2016, spoke of keeping reserve antibiotics like colistin for worst-case scenarios in individuals who have bacterial infections resistant to most antibiotics. However, usage of this antibiotic has been observed in Thailand livestock, which has already spread to humans. This means we may create super-resistant bacteria that no antibiotic can overcome. 3. Broad prescriptions. When antibiotics are prescribed, they are broad spectrum in nature and not targeted for particular bacteria. This means that antibiotics that are given when a person has a resistant form of bacteria are unnecessary exposure to antibiotics. All these factors are controlled by selfishness and ignorance, ensuring livestock are healthy through antibiotics being carelessly thrown around. Overprescription. From distribution through lack of investigations, using antibiotics to make money instead of caring for the people affected.
So how do we overcome antibiotic resistance? 1. Bacteriophages with conjugates. Whilst the Western world used antibiotics to fight off bacteria, the Soviet Union took a different approach, trying to develop bacteriophage therapies. These bacteriophages are like viruses that attack bacteria. We can place payloads on them to make bacteria easier to kill or make them once again vulnerable to our antibiotics. This is an active area of research. 2. Global support and removing greed. Without money, the problem is much harder to resolve. And as the current world has become too self-centered, it means governing bodies globally must put the health of people first before profits through investing in ways to defeat bacteria. Only with a globalized effort can we make change and save millions of lives. 3. Share awareness and share this documentary. Sharing media, speaking of antibiotic resistance, spreads the word and allows for the power of the people to make change take place.
I'm optimistic, providing the resources get put in. If the resources aren't put in, and governments, companies, pharmaceutical companies and powers that be don't believe that it's important enough at the moment, in the future hopefully they will. And as we've seen with other things recently, they should be able to resolve it for us.
Antibiotic resistance will affect future generations unless we make a difference. From Fleming and penicillin to bacteriophages, our mechanisms to kill bacteria have evolved. Bacteria have only evolved faster. We must do all that we can to prevent a post-antibiotic era and finally win this raging war between bacteria and humankind.